Neelu, we're all set now.
Namaste and a warm welcome to our virtual audience and our esteemed panelists who I will introduce just in a bit. I am Neelu Kalro. I had the early years and I am the IBDP CAS coordinator at JBCN International School, Oshiwara. I am also the humble Mumbai Territory Head for Early Childhood Association. Early Childhood Association has always been a pioneer in advocating quality in care, development, and learning in early childhood in India through various initiatives like ECE advocacy, teacher training, parenting, and publications. Today's webinar is unique as we at Early Childhood Association are launching Educators Book Review Series titled ECA Must Reads. And the first book that we are reviewing is Right Here With Me, A to Z of Parenting, Birth Through the Teenage Years. And who better to throw light on the relevance of this book and why is it a must read than the very authors who have penned down chapters in the book. There is a chapter for every letter of the alphabet. If we do have time later, I would love to read out the same for you, dear viewers. And now it is with immense pleasure that I introduce the esteemed panelists. We have today with us a lady who needs no introduction. For the new members of the ECF family in the audience, she is Dr. Swati Popat-Watts. Hello, Dr. Swati. Namaste.
Hi, namaste.
She is President, Podar Education Network and President of Early Childhood Association India and APA, Association for Primary Research and Education. Warm welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Also welcoming Ms. Fatima Agarkar, an award educationalist who is on the advisory board of several preschools, high schools, charity organizations. Ms. Fatima is the founder of Agarkar Center of Excellence, ACE, where she combines her passion for sports and education. Warm welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Neelu.
Our next author, Preeti Vikram, is Master Franchisee for Podar Education Network, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. Founder Director of LIFE Life, that is Leadership Initiative for Educators. Welcome, Preeti. We have with us Pratiksha Seth, Director, Grooming Babies Global Private Limited, visiting faculty at NMIMS, corporate trainer and life coach. She is also Vice President ECA. Warm welcome to you, Pratiksha.
Thank you so much, Neelu. Lovely to see all of you today.
Same here. And last but not the least, Anushri Rao, who is the co-founder and operations head at Get a Grip, CEO and founder of Gravity Moving Camera Solutions. She is also the honorary life member and managing committee member at Association and Motion Picture Studios and active parent member at Early Childhood Association. Warm welcome, Anushri.
Thank you so much. Really nice to be here.
Thank you and warm welcome to all of you once again. We now begin with our book review session. Dr. Swati, may I begin with you first, please?
Yes, absolutely.
You have authored about 3 chapters in this book. And if I may tell the names of these chapters, brain-based parenting, discipline, and temperament-based parenting. Do share your thoughts on these, please.
So very important in today's day and age to understand that when we talk about disciplining, as you will see in my chapter also, I say that we need to move to behavior management, because it's very important to understand why children are behaving the way they are behaving. So then we can bring about a change in that behavior. When we say discipline is something that's used in the army. We don't need that with our children, you know. And by the time a child joins an army, he's an adult. So there, the discipline techniques, of course, would be more suited to adults. I feel parents and teachers should not use the word discipline and should in fact use the word behavior modification or behavior management, because you are trying to teach this child who has just come or developed his or her social development to understand how to behave with others and how to behave with things. So it's very, very important to read this chapter because it gives some very important insights into why children behave the way they do and what would happen if you were to react rather than respond to that behavior of theirs. So it's very importantly, we added this for the letter D, and we wanted both parents and educators to understand that when we say discipline, it's an ongoing process. It's not going to stop. It's not that you have a magic mantra and you use it on your child and you will never have to use it again. They are human beings. That's the first thing that we need to understand. And human beings will always need corrective behavior. You know, even when the space shuttle went to the moon, it would deviate from its path, and every time it would have to be brought back on the right path. That is what we need to keep in mind when we think about parenting and discipline, that children will always tend to stray onto a path that you don't want them to go onto. But it's your job as a parent to bring them back onto the path and not jerk them back onto the path, you know. So that's why the chapter. And of course, play is something that most parents think it's a bad word. That if my child plays, my child will become dumb, my child will not be able to be intelligent. We are trying to bring about an awareness that play is the engine of learning. If there is play, children learn better, children remember better, and children retain better.
My key takeaways from what you just spoke: behavior modification, getting them on the right path with a gentle nudge, rather than the military enforcement of discipline.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for that. And now I'd move ahead and I'd also say that, Ms. Fatima, in your chapter you have penned, and the title reads, Google, Facebook, Television, How to Deal with It. So in today's scenario, this chapter is so pertinent. We'd like to hear your thoughts on this, please.
Thank you so much, Neelu. I think what's important was this book was written in the pre-COVID-19 era.
Yes.
And I cannot therefore emphasize how technology, therefore, is a friend, is an enabler. But before I even begin about Google, I'm not 1 minute endorsing that all your answers are Alexa or Google. I'm just pointing out that there is a support system in something called technology that we as parents are afraid to embrace. Nothing too much is going to be good, but it exists to make our life easier if there is a routine and there is a science to how we're operationalizing it. You know, before I get into it, this is my favorite story, and I'm going to take 2 minutes and actually narrate this. And I've done it with a lot of parents previously as well. This kid who had this assignment. His assignment was to find out why the Great Wall of China was initiated. Where did this project really come about? The teacher thought this was great, diving into history, learning about culture, all of that. This little kid, like all little kids, I have a 14-year-old and I know it's a last minute thing. Who does he turn to? Of course, he turns to what he thinks is next to Google, which is his father, sitting on a laptop, clicking away. And this father turns around and says, well, he's only 3. What are the chances, right? I can tell him anything, and really, who's going to penalize him for the facts not being in place? Guess what this very, very learned man has told his child? You know what? The Great Wall of China was erected because they wanted to keep the rabbits out. Job done. Child has gone home. Child has gone to bed thinking, you know what, my dad is so cool. He's got a PhD. I mean, of course, he needs to know this, right? So, sorted, I go to school. Very proudly, this child has stood in front of the whole class and said, the Great Wall of China, here's it. Yeah, please hold your breath. So he dramatized it and said, because they wanted to keep the rabbits out. The teacher, you know what, looked in dismay. And of course, there's been a conversation with the father. And he was like, what? He's 3. Why is he supposed to know why the Great Wall of China was erected? Guys, let's put it into perspective. I'm just saying that today, thanks to technology, you have the option of getting your child in your lap, Googling safe sites. All the cyber experts are in action at the moment. telling you which are the child-friendly sites you can use. Google is an eye-opener for a lot of parents who don't have the time to narrate. There are stories, there are videos, there are curated options for you to consult. Do that, because what you're actually doing is not using its power. You're outsourcing when you are busy to Google or technology, and then you're cribbing about too much screen time. Here's a thought. COVID-19 has taught us that we have only four walls and we have technology. Can it be your friend? I think so. There is a routine that you can set yourself. You put down the phone, your child will put down the phone. You stop watching television and pick up a book, your child will stop watching television and picking up the book. But just because you're busy in webinars or working or doing household chores, you're outsourcing it and giving it to the child. Instead of saying don't do it, here's a thought. Why don't you come up with, that's a lot of what I've written in the book, in that chapter, which is come up with alternatives that are as exciting. Read with the child, play with the child. Swati ma'am mentioned that. Play is like a bad thing in our world. Play means kuch kaam nahi kar raha hai. You know, faltu cheez hai. वो stimulation nahi hai. It's not going to get him to crack IITs by playing. It is. It's coding, it's STEM, it's all the things that educators are talking about. It's right there, but we're not attaching importance to it. So here's what the chapter is talking about, Neelu. It's talking about a growth mindset. It's talking about technology as a friend. It's saying don't do things that will embarrass your child by giving incorrect information. Use technology to research. Use technology to be your friend. Use technology in these lockdown times more than ever, and the next 18 months are not going to be without it, to become a partner in this journey, to do Zumba classes, I've just heard Anushri cooks really well. I'm logging on to your Facebook, Anushri, for sure. Use technology to get you to a world that you were unfamiliar with. Don't simply say, I don't know, figure it out. Where is the child going to figure it out? Using technology. So why don't you partner it? So Neelu, that chapter actually holds a lot of significance today for a lot of parents, because it tells you how to use it responsibly, how to become a digital citizen yourself. Insta is not about photographs. Insta is about science feed. Insta is about National Geographic. Insta is also about looking at someone who's looking beautiful and thinking, wow, even I can do that. Why is everything negative associated with technology? Grow a mindset, parents. That's the chapter. And I'm grateful for ECA to put it together and give it the importance that it needs. It's your friend, not an enemy. And you know what? You're the parent. Figure out your routine at home. That'll make you that responsible citizen. So that's that chapter for you, Neelu. And I can't tell you, all the tech guys are laughing at all those people who resisted it. IT people are saying, we told you, you didn't listen to us. Parents, that's your best friend, possibly more than your husband or wife at the moment.
Thank you, Fatima ma'am. I love the thought that you put together, that the parent has to be with the child for these routines, and these routines have to be set together. And as Swati ma'am said, it is an extension of play. It is a place from where we can learn a lot. So when I was reading these chapters in the morning, I did that again today, I really found them very, very relevant to what we are talking right now. Thank you very much for that. Another interesting chapter, and that is on the letter Z, the Zen and the Art of Success, which is written by Anushri Rao. Anushri, I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this, especially in these times. And I have just read this in the morning, so I'm all ears to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so I have often said to wannabe parents, people who've got little children, that, and I've said this from my own experience, I'm no parenting expert, I've just learned the hard way, is that when we're talking parenting, we're talking minimum a 20-year project. So the day you decide to be a parent, you please be prepared that the next 20 years of your life, not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years till the child is potty trained or you've handed them over to a lovely preschool, the next 20 years of your life are going to change. And if you're going to need to live through that change sensibly and keep your sanity intact, you have to be mentally prepared with a lot of patience, with a lot of tools to equip you as well as the child to remain happy and make this a pleasurable, joyful experience, as well as put forth a nice citizen in the world. So that's one of the things. The other thing I increasingly see is that today we have a lot of impatient children and a lot of impatient adults. And the main reason for that is that we are now living in a world of instant gratification. So if the child says, Ki, I'm hungry, the mother will go and open a packet of chips and give it to the child and say, Ye le kha le. The child says, okay, I'm bored. The mother will put some TV program or give the child an iPad or give her mobile for the child to play with. Now, increasingly what's happening is because of this instant gratification thing, children don't know what to do with themselves. They always expect instant results, that I will say something and the whole world will go into a scramble trying to get things organized for me. So now when you're talking about a lockdown, I hear a lot of parents saying, oh, our child is bored, we are bored. I am not bored. My children are not bored. Why? Because I raised them the hard way. I raised them the way not to get things as easily. And I made sure, I mean, while other mothers were scrambling to lay down structured timetables and routines for their children, I made sure that my children had enough unstructured activity which did not go by a timetable, with which they could keep themselves engaged, whether it was looking outside a window or counting worms in the flower pot. They've done everything. So today my children are not so bored, because when they have free time, they figure out what to do with it, because they've done this all their lives. Whereas the minute you put them into a structured routine and no free play, free play is the period given by the class teacher. It is aaj blocks karenge, aaj ye karenge, aaj wo karenge. The point is to let them be, let them play, similar to what Fatima also mentioned, that play is really important. So Zen and the Art of Success is mainly about learning to keep your sanity intact, learning to let the children be children, learn through free play, learn through unstructured activity, unstructured timetables, and evolve as a part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Anushri. I love when you spoke about the typical words that were going on in my mind. Instant gratification. I'm feeling bored, mama. Find something for me to do. But as parents, it's nice to allow our children to take the lead and decide what they're going to do with their free time. So that's really wonderful. And
can I say something, Neelu?
Please, ma'am.
Anushri Rao's son, Nivid Rao, is the one who has illustrated the book.
Oh.
Yes. So that's the story that I had told on Crossword. Her son has illustrated the book. So you can imagine Ben and Zelda.
Wow. Anushri, was this happening after all the doodles and all that time that they were spending together and he was with himself?
Excuse me, sorry?
So did this happen when he took that time out? Doodle and draw things and all that?
Yes, he would do pretty much anything he wanted. So even if he was looking outside a window, I was very cool about it. Even if he decided to draw printed rainbows, I was fine with it. If he wanted a pink sky one day, a yellow sky one day in his drawings, I was fine with it, because it's a child's imagination. You have to let them be. So unstructured play was a big reason that Zelda came about. It didn't happen like homework. We just told him the story and the rest of it just went organically.
Wow, that's fantastic. Great to hear that. That's fantastic. Thank you. I also read a chapter on humor today. And I was surprised when I picked up the book and I'm like, H has humor. And I also believe that a good sense of humor is an escape valve for all the pleasures of life. And we definitely like to hear our next author, Ms. Preeti Vikram. Preeti, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this, please.
Thanks so much for having me here. And I think ECA needs, we need to give kudos to ECA for bringing out a book like this. So a big clap there for you. The reason I chose humor was because I love my son's laughter. You know, he throws his head back and he laughs out loud, and that kind of, it brings so much joy. And so that's when I kind of started understanding and researching a little bit more about humor and what it does in the life of a child. And it was so fascinating because research showed that children laugh an average of about 200 times a day if given enough stimulation. Do you know how much we as adults laugh? Unfortunately, the average is down to 6. And that was so depressing. What happened to 200 and why did we get to 6? So few things that as I started learning and understanding about humor, the development of humor is so congruent to the development of cognition. And when you look at Piaget's theory and you look at how humor develops, it makes sense. You laugh more if the child is laughing more, understanding more jokes. It means that the child's cognition is developing. So why are we not spending more time on humor? So I'm so happy that the earlier authors all spoke about play, because humor is nothing but play. If you look at the slide that I've just put up, if people never did silly things, nothing intelligent would ever get done. So we should stop being so serious, taking ourselves so seriously. And I think it's important that we bring in a lot more laughter into our lives, right? Humor has so many benefits. It allows a child to make friends better. It allows the child to diffuse a difficult situation if we teach them to use humor effectively. So how can we ensure that children are able to use humor as a tool in their repertoire? During this period of lockdown, I know that we are continuously at home and 24 hours with our children, with our husbands, spouses. So it can get difficult. So can we use humor during this time? And it's especially important during this time because like Anushri was saying, it's important that you retain your sanity. And how else do you do it than to laugh at yourself and with the people that you love? Few things that parents can try at home, which are there in the book also. Can you all say tongue twisters and kind of laugh at each other? Can you have a silly face contest where, have you seen all these contests where it's try not to laugh challenge? So you make silly faces and you tell the child that you now have to try not to laugh, and it's a challenge. So can you do that? Can we celebrate great comedians, as in we could take Chaplin videos for a whole week and get the child to walk like Chaplin, if that's possible? How many children have watched Laurel and Hardy? Right, so let's celebrate great comedians. And so there are so many ideas that I've put into this particular chapter, and I believe that humor is the solution, because if children see us laugh, they feel so much better. It's contagious and they feel better. The world is a better place the more we laugh.
Wow. First, let me say that, and then let me talk ahead. Because you've highlighted not just important stats, which tells us how important humor is, but you've also brought this fact out, which is mentioned in this book when it was published. I'm going to come to that in a bit, that humor is what keeps us going. And there are so many ways in which even now, in this stay-at-home time, when we are home with our children, and there are times when they are bored or when they feel they want to do something different, getting to these comedians and Laurel and Hardy and the Charlie Chaplins and all that. So there's a lot that you've given out right just now, and I just can't. Any thoughts from any other panelists, please? Would you like to add on something?
Sorry, I'm just going to crack a joke here because I have to. Preeti, I love when you brought out the fact we're locked down with our spouses. That's just made me laugh. And I think we're locked down with our children and locked down with our spouses. I think we've all heard enough jokes about that. But yes, it brings a smile to our face. And just listening to you, it just made me realize that honestly, that's the one thing I'm going to take away from this session, that we all laughed. So that's a pretty important part of the book. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Preeti. Moving next to our next panelist, Pratiksha, you have written on a very interesting topic. And let me first tell you this topic. Demystifying optimism may sound heavy because that's what I felt when I read it. But when I opened and I started turning the pages and reading sentences, I was hooked. I definitely want to hear more from you, Pratiksha, on demystifying optimism.
Thank you, Neelu. And like we've seen, every chapter, is a treasure trove of experience and insights and things you can do with your child, especially in, the current COVID times. Whether it is discipline, whether it is humor, whether it is technology, it's I genuinely feel we all have grown, in this journey. First, I believe my journey to self growth started when I became a parent. So, honestly, even if I wasn't an optimist, I definitely was. And when that chapter came to me, that topic came to me, I felt like, wow, it's like meant to be. The universe is sending a message. So, that's the only way you can be a good parent, I believe. Optimism is about two things for me. It is about courage, it is about faith, it is about belief. I think as parents, we all want to imbibe these values, these qualities in our child. And you know what the good news is? It is not, a personality trait that you're born with. Optimism is something you can develop. Okay. So it's all about knowledge, and it's all about putting that knowledge to practice, using that skill to be better, at facing adversity. And it is absolutely relevant in COVID times. However, what I would say, when a pandemic strikes, or an adversity is faced, we need to probably use an adjective before the word optimism: cautious optimism. Don't be blindsided by optimism to an extent that you don't see or don't be cautious. That's very important. But have the faith that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to make it through. I think that is what, really inspired me to put my all and write this chapter. Truly thank ECA for the opportunity. So, and what is beautiful is, when I was briefed, they told me that, you have to divide it into ages. So this book is a very beautiful book which talks about how do you build optimism in infants and toddlers, how do you do it for young adults, and how do you do it for adolescents, So it's that whole journey, and you can apply part of those learnings to yourself as well. So honestly, there's a beautiful book called The Optimistic Child, that I read when I was writing this chapter, and it speaks about ABC. Is good. You don't really need to be as parents, be there. And how can we be there for a child? If you want to, build optimism, first
Hello?
intervene. Second, A for adversity, B is for belief, which is very important. We all need to hold on to that. And the very first premise is, you cannot light somebody else's path if your internal light is dim. So what you need to do is first examine your self-limiting beliefs. That is what I tell myself. There are opportunities to learn. And whenever they you know,
Neelu,
Mansi,
her
yeah.
voice is getting
Yes.
cut. Maybe you can go back to her again.
Yes.
And Mansi can check what's happening to her voice. Maybe you can move on to the next question.
Yes. So Pratiksha, we'll come back to you again. Thank you very much. And the words that I take back here: courage, faith, belief, especially at a time when and these are very important life skills. We are talking about building resilience, adaptability, and all the life skills that are required at every point of time. So definitely these are things which are very, very strong, and the book talks about it. If I may share that I myself have written a chapter on this book. I take a moment to talk about that, please. And
what?
hello.
Yes.
So I have written a chapter on the right choice of words. I'm a strong believer in positive communication, non-violent communication, and I believe that what is our self-talk is what starts becoming our reality. So it's very important as to what are we talking to ourselves? What is our child talking to him or herself? Definitely they mirror what they see around them. So what are the choice of words that we are taking up? So very, very importantly, and as we mentioned, the panelists mentioned rightly, that the book has a very large bandwidth. It moves from early years right up to teenage years. So when you think about the seeds that you're sowing right during the foundation years, how does it then come forward, and how do you see it when you're an adult or when you're a teenager? That's what I have spoken about in that book. And your topics are all over, but I know for a fact that the book has fantastic chapters that you're talking about. Let's have a small discussion on what are the other things that we feel we want to touch upon as a take back right now. Each one of you can take that minute to give us your last thought before we move on to reading a few chapters out of the book. Can we go with you, Swati ma'am?
So as very rightly pointed out by Pratiksha, what we have tried to do with this book is that it should be applicable for all age group parents, which means you may be a mother of a child, a toddler, or a young child, or an adolescent. This book should help you. The chapters and the topics remain the same, but you can use them age appropriately. So that's what we wanted to turn this book into, like a ready reckoner for a parent to pick up even as the child is growing up, that every time she faces a problem. And again, very rightly said by Pratiksha, I think this book is very valid today in COVID time, when parents are struggling with children feeling bored, or there is no humor around, or everybody's tense in the family and everybody's cribbing, and there is no zen in their life right now. So I think this book is very, very valid right now. In fact, ECA is now in the process of converting all these books into Kindle format so that people can download on Kindle also, so that the COVID lockdowns should not hamper you ordering a good book for yourself. So I would say that, and I would like to end with a joke, because I really loved Preeti. Preeti, I had witnessed her in one of our sessions when she spoke about humor in education. And that's why we reached out to her, that, we never think of humor when we think about parenting. We think that humor is something very opposite to parenting. But humor is a very integral part of everything that we do. We need to see the lighter side of things. So here is one for COVID, that the air has cleared so much that my husband has started seeing my point of view.
Thank you, Swati ma'am. Yes, that is a wonderful joke, and you ingested that humor right here into the situation. Any other thoughts, please?
So Neelu, I think we should have ended on that. That was a perfect, perfect finale to this dinner. But since we're on it, Swati ma'am, you always do this. You have this punchline to everything. You always get there ahead of everyone. Brilliant. I'm going to use this. So Neelu, important times for all of us as adults who are also playing the role of parents and educators at the same time, because now it's pure 50-50 parenting and education at home as well. my earnest request, and I think I speak on behalf of all the panelists as well, is stay away from comparisons. Today, we are more socially active. You know, if someone is baking the perfect cake or making the perfect meal and yours looks like it should be in the bin, you know what? It doesn't make you any less of a parent. If you are not able to get live on some safari at 4 o'clock in the morning, some app will send to you, it is okay. I think we need to recognize that we need the Zen to first figure out what works for our family. We therefore need to have unstructured, structured time, balance it out, whatever works for you. This comparison has put a lot of baggage pre-COVID-19, COVID-19, and I dare say the next 24 hours are going to be about that. Let's just calm down. Let's just laugh. I'm as good as I can be, and my kid is as good as as he or she can be. And I am not winning a super mom award, nor is my kid. My family is the same as it was before, now, and going to be after. Please, please, a sincere request to all parents listening, no comparisons. We as educators keep saying, do not differentiate between children. But the fact everyone, it's about time. COVID-19 gave us this gift of time to reflect, and we can do that for the sake of our children and us as well.
Thank you, Padma ma'am. Any thoughts from Anushri? Pratiksha, would you like to tell us anything?
So my point is, everything is not always necessarily hunky-dory. And you may come across situations where you may need to communicate or criticize some action that your child has done because of which you are displeased. So you can't just keep a smile on your face and say, you know, you can't be making mistakes like that. No. However, the message that you need to strongly get across is that it's not that you are wrong. The act that you did is wrong. So the child always needs to feel positively loved, irrespective of what he or she may do. It's the act of doing something that was not appropriate, which needs to be condemned, and not the child itself.
Thank you, Anushri. That's a wonderful thought.
Okay. Here's what I would like to share with all my fellow parents and panelists and everybody who is online. I genuinely feel what we can do to make the most of this time is to build routines. You know, the way I start my day, and honestly, it's not a mission. Okay, it's a beautiful journey of getting to know each other, understanding each other a little bit more. Family, spouse, kids, you know, in-laws, everybody. So I genuinely feel like begin your day with Om, meditation, whatever works. Everybody sit together, you know, play cards, board games, whatever you like. Basically, do something you've never done before. For example, I just, you know, gave my husband a haircut. And, you know, when you do something different from the routine, it's like, oh my God, you know, I can do this as well. That gives you a little kick. So do something new each day, read a book, pick up, you know, listen to inspiring, motivating videos, just do something, push yourself to be better. This is the time you've got, you know. I make sure I'm not going for my morning walks anymore, but I still make sure through my household chores, through running behind my little one, I'm still completing my 10,000 steps a day. So have these little goals, you know. I'm not putting a big task or a mission. Just enjoy this journey, this process, and examine your thoughts. Try to be a little more optimistic so we can all get through this, you know, with a smile. Like they say, Fir muskurayega India.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to add here that at times like now, when we are all at home, I've written down these few lines which I'd like to read out to you. We are struggling to balance home, office, family, school. At the same time, we are trying to nurture and raise our happy, healthy, and successful children. At times like this, when I was going through the book, this becomes a guide to parenting. It helps parents to do away with the stress and replace it with the pleasure of parenting, exactly the things that each one of us spoke about. And this book is not about making anyone a good parenting. Okay, this is not going to lead you into saying, okay, I have the Bible here, I just need to reach out to it every day, pick up a chapter, put it into practice, and there I have it. My parenting is sorted. It's not about that. The book is about being a guide to parents where you can pick up parental issues and right from the early years to the teenage years, handle them at every important stage in life and yet keep calm yourself. So have fun while you're at home with your children and have fun with a lot of other books that you're reading. That was the entire essence of this book. Any final thoughts, Swati ma'am, for the book that we have reviewed today?
I would like to take Preeti's thoughts also before I give mine, because Preeti hasn't got a chance to speak. So Preeti, any thoughts?
I'd like to take off from where Fatima just, I think she briefly touched upon it. She spoke about not comparing. I'd like to go a step further and say, please stop looking at social media and pressurizing yourself, because social media has all these, like Anushri was also saying, hunky-dory pictures of how we all look our best. Even today, I'm probably looking my best. I don't look like this on a daily basis, right? So I think we don't all need to make Dalgona coffees. We don't need to all take the sari challenge. We don't need to all do everything that's coming up. And most importantly, in this journey, I believe that just like when you board a flight and the air hostess says, when the mask comes down, put it on yourself first. We all, as mothers, educators, whatever roles we are playing, need to breathe first, learn to take care of ourselves. Only then we'll be able to take care of all the people around us. So that's what I wanted to add.
Absolutely. Neelu, what I would like to say is that most of us have traveled by flights, right? I think this is something that you should experience or think about as a flight. It's an ongoing flight since the last 42 days, which means you can't get what you want to eat on a flight. You have to eat what is there on the flight. You can't get the entertainment that you want on a flight. You have to make do with whatever is there. You have to listen to certain rules. When the air hostess says sit down, you have to sit down. When the air hostess says you can move, you can move. So look at it like an ongoing flight. And when you give that kind of imagination and creativity to children, they understand because they've all experienced this, you know. I am very, very, what would I say, disappointed when parents take an affront that don't correct us. You know, there is this sensitivity which is going on in parents that don't correct us. You don't know what a good job we are doing. You don't know what a difficult job it is. No, I feel as a human being, we should all be open to corrections. We should all be open to opinions. There's nothing wrong if the world tells you something. Don't take it so personally, because I think once you become a parent, you become overly sensitive and you become overly, affected by everybody's opinions. Everybody has a right to give their opinion. Don't listen to it. Don't listen to it if you don't like it. It's as simple as that. That I feel why we have wanted Zen in parenting is that you need to reach that stage in parenting where you are okay and comfortable with whatever you are and whatever your children are, as long as they are happy. Of course, there will be people like Anushri Rao who will always send things for a toss for other parents, you know, because she started looking more beautiful these days and she started cooking very well these days. So I'm sure a lot of mothers must be going through a lot of insecurities. Through those mothers, I say, don't go on her Facebook page. So it's as simple as that, you know.
Thank you, ma'am. A huge thank you to our esteemed panelists, each one of you come authors of the book of A to Z of Parenting. Truly, it is an ECA recognized must read for every parent, grandparent, and educators. A book truly relevant to all times, may it be the yesterdays, the todays, and the tomorrows. So thank you. And till we meet again, we're going to review many more books. This was the launch today. And any questions from the audience? Anything? I can't see anything. Any questions from the audience? I can't see anything there on the chat. Though definitely, Swati ma'am, your example has been very well appreciated, that in the light of where we are, that is, we have to do with what is available. So thank you very much to each and every one. It was great having you on the panel with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We log off. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It was wonderful interacting with all of you.
Thank you, Mansi.
Welcome. I'm right here.
Neelu, well done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.